right to us.
So the Sunseeker San Remo is dead, and we now have a Sunseeker Predator 50. And it's not an update, it's a completely brand new boat. So the question is, what's changed? And why is this a Predator when the previous boat wasn't? Well, the big news starts as soon as you come into this cockpit here, because where the San Remo was all sun pad at the back and then the cockpit stretched across the main deck to the front, here you have a very defined cockpit area just here. And I really like the fact they've put a rearward facing seat in, and then the sun pad at the back, they've used that for seating and sun pad, and of course you still retain your dinghy storage underneath there. But the reason it's a Predator is because in line with the larger models, now this upper deck forward of here is saloon. And they've joined it with a huge lift up window just here. So you can have it all open as we've got it at the moment. There's also a door that opens as well, of course. But with this boat, you can close this off. So this drops down, the door closes, and that is very much internal saloon. So what have we actually got inside this boat? Well, it's fairly conventional in here, but it's got some really nice touches. The most obvious thing is these huge windows that drop right down. It's something we're seeing more and more of, and it really does link the inside with the outside of this boat. Another nice detail is I really like this strip lighting that they put into the ceiling here as well. The layout itself, well, there's a massive social seating area just here, and on this side we've got your sideboard area. There's a TV that pops up, there's an ice maker inside, and in fact on this boat they've even fitted a wine cooler. What is impressive about this interior, however, is the fact they've actually crammed as much length of interior accommodation to this boat as you get in a Predator 57. And that leads to some nice details. So you get a really good size seating area just here, but you also get another area up next to the helm at the front. And that's really nice. When you're going along, it's raised up and it puts you completely in touch with the people driving the boat over on this side. So down here on the lower deck, there's a real sensation of space again, and that's really exaggerated by just how much headroom you've got in here. Again, some terrific lighting features, big windows, your galley is down here, of course, and you've got your main VIP guest cabin forward with scissor berths. Now over here on the starboard side, this particular boat we're on has got a third cabin. That's got bunk beds in. Again, that's pretty conventional, but there is an option to have a lower saloon down here, so you can have this all open down here. But one area I really like is the master cabin. So again, in here, there's nothing earth-shattering about this. This is your standard full beam owner's cabin. But what's changed from the San Remo is headroom. Masses of headroom here, and whenever you walk around this cabin, loads and loads of headroom. You're not having to duck under anywhere. They've even found space for a little breakfast bar tucked away down here. So out here on the water, the big news, of course, is the fact that this boat has got a pair of D8 600 horsepower Volvo Penta engines, rather than the usual IPS 600 you get on these boats. Now the IPS 600, of course, are actually 435 horsepower. These are 600. They are driving through shaft drive, but they use a V-drive installation which puts the engines right at the back of the boat, which of course frees up more space for accommodation. And the difference that you get with that is that extra power means that the pickup onto the plane is particularly smooth and particularly urgent. There's a second's delay as the turbos spin up, and then she's up and running. But one thing I have noticed is, perhaps because the engines are so far back, we do get a fair bit of bow lift. And what helps with that is this lift bolster. I found today that the most comfortable position is to lift the bolster and then sit on that, and that restores the visibility. The other thing we've got is we've got the foredeck cushions up as well, and if you're on a long run, I suspect you'd move those out of the way. At this sort of speed, that's actually quite a comfortable driving position. The wheel is adjustable, the throttle's the way you want them to be, and it's quite a comfortable place to be. In terms of the handling itself, well again, it's a little different to the IPS, in as much as it doesn't turn quite as sharply, although having said that, it does bank nicely into a turn. You just don't perhaps have quite as tight a turning circle. But one interesting thing about it is that this steering is actually electronic. Unlike most shaft drive boats, the rudders that have hydraulic, this has no mechanical link between it and the rudders. There are two motors on the rudders, and this sends an electric signal back to those motors. And what that means is two things. Firstly, it is absolutely finger light, just like an IPS system. It's incredible. But the other thing is, it's really sharp lock to lock. You can literally go to full lock on just over a turn. So if I put that down there, that is now full lock to port, and that is back to straight ahead. And so, although you don't expect the handling to be quite as lively as with a pod drive, and it isn't. It is nonetheless quite decent handling. Let's try it the other way again. Just over a turn and we're on full lock. So you retain some of that sports boat's feel. It doesn't turn it into a cruiser. In terms of the performance itself, well, she'll top out in the sort of low to mid 30s really. That's flat out there. And then you can back that off and you've got a nice cruising speed. And one thing I have noticed about it is that it is quite a quiet boat. You sit here at the helm and there's no stress from the noise at all. And that of course gives it really long legs. So it maintains that sporty Sunseeker character, but it is a boat that gives tremendous cruising potential.
And it wasn't with you. Oh no, why'd I do this to you? Who knows? But I have been wonderful. All I know is I can't fantasize about you now. All I know is he just wants to linger for too long. All I know is I can't fantasize about you now. All I know is he just wants to linger for.
So we're back at the Sunseeker factory. We've had a terrific day out on this boat today. And it's very clear that what Sunseeker have done with this model is they've really gone all out for maximum space. Even up here on the bow, they found some space for some social area. But what's nice is it hasn't lost those driving dynamics. It still feels like a Sunseeker. It still feels like a great boat to drive.